Hi, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to use lead scoring for accounts as well as for contacts and leads. We're going to be looking at the purpose of creating a lead scoring profile, as well as talking about some of the ways to create a scoring profile, some practical application, and of course, some best practices. We're going to start off by explaining the difference between an account scoring profile and a contact scoring profile. An account scoring profile is created simply to control when the real-time account alerts go out. As it stands right now, if you were to sign up for the account alerts, you would receive an alert for every unknown person that touches your website. What I mean by unknown is if you're looking at my screen here, you can see that unknown means there is no email address. So profit point would be unknown. The moment they finish their web session, I would receive a real-time alert. Same thing for Comcast Cable. Same thing for Cyber Internet Services Pakistan. The purpose of creating an account scoring profile is to minimize the amount of real-time unknown alerts that you receive and only send you those that are qualified and that you can actually take action on. Since they are unknown, meaning, again, you don't know who the individual is, you would need to do a little bit of digging to be able to find who to reach out to at that particular company. You can use our Jigsaw integration, you can use our LinkedIn integration, or you could even take the company name and go out to Google and look for the company in the particular region that we've captured on the analytics. Again, you can only do this with actual company names like TMG Health or NetCentrix. It's not something you can do with a Comcast Cable. A Comcast Cable is an internet service provider or an ISP. Again, the scoring profile for accounts allows you to suppress receiving real-time alerts for ISPs. A contact scoring profile works in a little bit different of a manner. A contact scoring profile will score everybody who is cookied, which means that we know who they are when they're doing web activity. It will also score everybody in your database as they engage in different marketing activities, such as receiving and opening and clicking on email campaigns, the data that is kept inside of their record, attending or registering for our event management, and a variety of different other activities that we can watch and score on. The two main purposes for creating a contact scoring profile is to set up a lead qualification profile where you're watching these people's activity, and at some point they become qualified and you hand them over to sales. The days of cold calling are pretty much gone. You want to be able to confidently hand over a particular lead to your sales team knowing that they've been qualified. The second reason most commonly that people create a contact scoring profile is to automatically nurture them using the Sales Fusion platform. We're a marketing automation system, and the lead scoring helps put the word automation into it. By using our lead scoring profiles, you can say when somebody reaches a particular score, maybe have them get dropped into a nurture campaign to get them to engage a little bit further and, again, nurture that relationship that you're trying to create. Then maybe when they hit another scoring range, maybe have a task created for the sales rep to reach out and make a phone call. Maybe you have a third tier where you're saying, okay, now this person is a hot lead and it's very qualified, so now we're going to go ahead and get an opportunity created. And again, all of these things are automatically happening and occurring within the system. So what we're going to do is I'd like to show you two examples of an account alert as well as a contact alert. And again, when I'm using the word contact, I'm using it in as a general manner. I'm referring to both contacts and leads. And again, these alerts I'm going to show you can be sent out using our scoring profiles. So the first one I'm going to show you is an account analytics alert. And if you look up in the subject line, you can see that it's coming from noreply@messageapp.com. If you have not added this email address as a safe sender, I would highly recommend that you do. In the subject line, we're saying account analytic alerts for, and then this would be the organization name. In this case, it was the New Jersey State Library. You can see here on the web activity, we're showing the session date, how long did their session last, how many links did they visit. If they came in through a search engine or refer, we'd have that listed here as well. Any keywords, again, if they came in through a search engine. And then we're showing you all the links that they touched. You can see that these are active links, so if I click on it, it will take me to the exact page that the person clicked on. We also have the ability down here to add in some account information, such as the score, if you, again, have a scoring profile, the city, the state, the country, and the zip. And this information is all gathered by data that is contained within the SalesFusion CRM. That's one alert. The second alert I want to show you is for contacts. Now, this is for somebody that has been cookied by the SalesFusion system. And just to let you know, there are two major ways that people can get cookied by our system. The first way is by somebody completing a dialogue that we are hosting. The moment they hit submit, we cookie them. That cookie will remain until they clear their cookies, which majority of people don't do very often, but if they do, then obviously they'd have to get re-cookied. But the second way is by clicking on any link sent from a campaign using the SalesFusion system. It can be a link to a PDF, it can be a link to your website, it can be a link to an asset that SalesFusion is hosting. We encode every single link in the email campaign sent from our system specifically to cookie people. So as you're designing your email, you should have plenty of links to give people the opportunity to click on. You can see here, for this one, again, it's coming from noreply@messageapp.com. Subject line here is web activity alert, and it has the person's email address. It again provides the same information that we just saw in the account alert, where it's talking about the session date, how many links were touched, host name, links visited, and then of course you get the contact information. Now we have customers that use many different CRM systems, from SalesLogix to Sage to Microsoft to Salesforce and so forth. So the fields that you see here may not be the exact fields that you see in your CRM or that you may find relevant for your sales team to see. So you can actually customize both the account alert as well as the contact alert. As an example of what a customized alert would look like, this is an example. You can see that the customer has added their own header at the top here that is coming from Eardata Marketing. The green and the purple are their company colors, and you can see that they added in some pertinent information here at the top. They changed the text, they changed the font, they removed some information that they didn't seem deemed to be important. They added in some additional reference information. Okay, source is external link. Well, let me tell you what source actually means. So these can be customized to look and feel like your company, and again, to make sure that you are giving the recipients that are receiving these alerts relevant information to take action on. So what we're going to do today, again, is we're going to go ahead and walk through, briefly touching on points on account scoring profiles as well as contact scoring profiles. So I'm going to hop into my scoring profile here, and I'm going to go out to the Lead Analyzer tab, and we're going to go to Profiles. Most of you may already have two default scoring profiles created, and that was created when your SalesFusion account was created. It's simply to go ahead and give you something to work with, but of course you can choose to delete it, edit it, or add to it. So I'm going to go ahead and come here to Scoring Profiles, and I'm actually going to select New. When I select New from the upper right-hand corner, it's going to ask me for a name, a profile type, a status, and a description. I'm a big fan of dates, so I'm going to use today's date and just put in training. Again, this can be anything that you choose. Profile type would be, are you doing an account or a contact? And I'm going to do an account first. Status. I would highly recommend you keep this inactive until you are 110% sure you're ready to make it active and have any actions associated to it occur. So I'm going to put it as inactive, and I'm just going to copy and paste my name into the description for time's sake. When I click on Save, it's actually going to bring me into the scoring profile properties, and this is where I have a lot of different options. Now, we go into depth on some of these options on another video that you can watch on our Learning Management Center called Account Profiles. I just want to touch on a couple important points. One is the Map to CRM field. If you are using an external CRM and you want to see the score in your CRM, you need to create a custom field. That custom field If you're doing an account scoring profile, obviously needs to be created at the account table level on the root table, and it needs to be an integer field. Whatever you choose to name it is up to you. Just make sure it's an integer field. We'll pull it down on the next sync, and you will have it here as an option to map to. If you're creating it for a contact scoring profile, it needs to be created on both the contact and the lead table. Again, needs to be an integer field, and again, we will pull it down on the next sync, and you will be able to choose it from the drop-down. The first area here that we have is account, and again, with unknown accounts, the only thing you're able to score on is that web activity. That's it. So when we go to here, we click on account. I'm just going to show you how to briefly score on a page. When I click on new, we have some options to score on the account name, which again is the organization name that's being captured in the analytics. You can score on the country we're capturing in the analytics. This is important, and this is where you need to start asking yourself questions such as, do I only do business in particular countries, states, or regions? If the answer to that is yes, then you should be awarding higher points to those countries or regions or states because they're automatically important to you. If you do business only in North America and somebody comes in from Africa, then you probably don't need to have them qualified and you don't need to have an alert go out because you can't even do business with them. So again, a lot of the thought process with lead scoring is thinking about what is qualified, what is important, and what is not important to you as you go through this process. And at the end of this training session, I'll show you where you can download a document that will help you, guide you through some of these questions. We have geos where you can create geos from countries or states or postal codes, and you can score according to the geo. And then we have page name and page title. Most commonly, you'll be scoring on page name, which is what you will see up here in the browser. The page name is everything after your domain to the right, including the slash. If you want to score on the page title is what appears in the tab of your internet browser. So I'm going to go ahead and score on this page name, so I'm going to grab it and copy it. And I'm going to put it in for page name here and assign X number of points. I'll be talking about the point system here as we get towards the end about why I'm choosing these and what do they mean and what ramifications do they have on the lead routing. But for now, I'm just going to choose 5. Click on Save. If I wanted to score on the page title instead, I would do New. I would choose Page Title, and you can see my page title here is called Recorded Videos. Grab that, and I'm just going to type in Recorded Videos and assign X number of points. So that's how you score on a page name, and this is how you score on a page title. We do have the ability to score wildcards, so make sure you read the text above or below the rule type to be able to see how you would use a wildcard. We also have account score properties, and these are the same for contact scoring as well. This is where you can choose to score on total number of pages touched per session or for lifetime, as well as total time spent on the particular web session for either that particular session or for a lifetime value. A couple things to take into consideration, especially for when you want to score on the time. One thing you need to remember is that a lot of times people have a bad habit of opening up browsers, going to your website, and then just sitting there. I am very guilty of that, in that by the time I close out my computer at the end of the day, I have 20 internet browsers open at minimum. And I've been on somebody's website all day long. Now, that does not make me a qualified person just because I've been sitting there. So if you are going to score on time, make sure you just give them a couple extra points. I would not immediately qualify somebody based on how long they've spent on your website. Another thing to take into consideration is the way the Sales Fusion analytics work is if somebody touches a single page on your website, we automatically default that to 180 seconds automatically, which is technically 3 minutes. So if you're saying if somebody touches and stays on my website for 150 seconds or more, I'm going to give them 100 points, you're hurting yourself in the long run because, again, you're giving somebody 100 points for touching one page. Also, if somebody touches multiple pages, such as this example here, the last page that they touch will always default to 60, always. The way that we count the duration is we count the time that they touched the page to the time they went to the next page. So obviously, somebody touches one page, there was no next page that they touched. If somebody touches the last page, again, there's no next page that they touched, so we have to default it to something. Being aware of the 60 seconds for the last page and 180 seconds for a single page touched will help you properly think through your process if you want to do score on time. In my opinion, pages that they touch is a little bit more important because that means that they have actively touched X number of pages. A common question that I get from people is, well, I don't know how many pages are common for people to be touching on my website. That's when you can use Sales Fusion's reporting. You can also utilize our analytics tracker here, where you can get an average of how many pages people are touching on their visits. If you're seeing that people are touching 2 or less, then maybe you should say if they touch 3 or more pages, give them X number of points. Again, I'm not sure I would immediately qualify them for number of pages touched, but definitely would give them a couple points to bump them up a little bit. Last thing that we have, and this is specific to account scoring profiles, is an age of relevance. Age of relevance is important for account scoring profiles in the fact that it tells the system, do not accumulate the score. If Comcast Cable comes in and they get a score of 20, and then they come back 2 minutes later and they get another score of 20, that would be 40 if you are not using the age. And the score can get very high very quick. By using the age here, you're telling the system, score only that current session, and when that account comes back, wipe out the score and start all over again. And that's definitely a recommendation that I would give when you're creating the account scoring profiles. The account scoring profiles can go to anybody that you choose. I'll show you how to subscribe people to the account alerts as well as the contact scoring alerts as well. Let's go ahead and hop into a contact scoring profile. So I'm going to select New in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to do the same thing here. Whoops. I'm going to put in today's date again, and I'm going to put in training contact, just to be a little bit different. Again, you want to make this inactive until you are 100% sure that you're ready for it to go live. And you can see that we have the same options here that we saw in the account scoring. One thing I do want to mention is we have something called a map summary, where not only can you have the score go back to your CRM system, but you can also create another custom field and say, this is going to give our sales reps additional information. While you may know exactly what a 19 represents, or a 25, or a 42, your sales rep may not know what that means. And the summary allows you to say 19, and then there's another field next to it that says, this is a warm lead. Or maybe a 45 is a hot lead or qualified. Gives them just a little bit additional information right there at the tip of their fingers for when they reach out to that particular prospect. Scoring history days. Now, with contact scoring, you want that score to accumulate because you're trying to get the person qualified. However, we have scoring history where we can tell the system, do not score activity that occurred after X number of days. For example, if you've been a customer with us for 2 years, and I was on your website 2 years ago, and I've had no activity until today, and today I went to your website and touched 3 more pages. Would you want my activity from 2 years ago to be taken into account of my now new current score? Some people say yes, some people say no. My recommendation is to look at your sales cycle. If you have a very long sales cycle, you need to take into consideration everything, and you would just leave it as 0. I have one customer whose sales cycle is about 2 weeks long, which is amazing. I wish I had that sales cycle. But in their case, they would not want to score activity from 2 years ago, so they might limit it at 180 days. After 180 days, any previous activity would not be scored on. Again, these are the internal questions that you need to discuss with your marketing as well as your sales team. If I come down here, you can see that we have a lot more options within the contact scoring profile. You can score on web activity, where you're given the same options we just reviewed in the accounts. You can score on page name. You can score on page title. You can score on duration, as well as number of pages touched. Now over here, we also have email campaigns. Email campaigns allow you to score on individual particular campaigns. Most commonly, people set up a generic campaign scoring where they're saying, for every campaign, email, drip, trigger, assign 1 point for opens, 2 points for clicks. You can also have a campaign click-through score where you're looking at a particular link within a particular campaign and scoring that. And then we also have a wildcard campaign where you, if you do very similar campaigns, let's say you do a newsletter every month, and you don't want to have to come in here and add that newsletter every time, you can do a wildcard saying if the campaign name contains newsletter, give X number of points for opens and clicks. So we have a lot of options here. Again, it goes back to what do you want to accomplish with the scoring profiles. We'll look at the generic one. All you have to do is click on New, and you can see that it gives you the option to open or the option to click. And then you would say Open and assign X number of points and save. Keep in mind that whatever you set up for your scoring profile can always be tweaked and modified. It does not have to be set in stone the first time you do it. You will set this up, you will sit back, and you will watch your results and analyze them, and then make your modifications from there. Dialogues, you have the ability to score on particular questions on a dialogue. You also have the ability to score generically if somebody starts or somebody completes any dialogue inside of the SalesFusion system. The events is for the event management module. If, when you log into your system, you see this events tab, that means you have the event management module. And this gives you the ability to score on particular events or generically for all events, for registered, attended, and followed up. And lastly, we have data. Data is where you are scoring on fields that exist inside of the CRM. So obviously, if you're using an external CRM, if we see that field, that custom field, you'll be able to score on it here. Again, you have to ask yourself, and this is where you do need to involve your sales team and say, when you're looking at a record, what stands out to you as a person being qualified? Is it the title? Is it the industry? Is it the number of employees? Is it when they're looking to buy? What fields are most important? And again, this is just to give them a couple extra points to help get them qualified. The way that I like to think of the lead scoring profiles is more of a questionnaire. So with the questionnaire, just imagine you're asking the person, what do you do? What is your title? Oh, you're a CTO, that's who we talk to. That's our target market. That's great, 1 point for you. Oh, you're also in the industry of finance. Great, that's our target industry. Let's give you another point. So it's basically an automated system that's doing these questions for you, accumulating a score, and then handing it over to your sales team. As these activities are being scored, the score is being added up. You then have your lead routing options. And lead routing is where you're saying, now that they have a score, let's tell the system what to do with that. We have a lot of different things that you can do with the score. You can have tiered scoring, where you can say from group 1 to 15, we're going to consider that cold, and maybe we'll just get them dropped into a trigger campaign. Then maybe from 16 to 45, we're going to consider that warm, and maybe we'll have a task created. And then maybe from 46 to infinity, we're going to have an opportunity created. So you can have tiered routing. Some of the options that you can choose are to create a new lead inside of the external CRM, add a new task to the owner of the record, create an opportunity, add to a campaign to nurture, send alert would send the web alert I showed you in the beginning. The alert will automatically go to the owner of the record only. But you do have the ability to say copy the alert to a geo or copy the alert to a role. So if you have a management role and you want management to receive those as well, you can choose to copy them. Remove from a campaign, add to distribution list, remove from distribution list, update the record, push an update to the external CRM, and also suppress alert to owner. Suppress alert to owner is probably one that you'll be using most often starting off. so that you can test out how the alerts are working, if they're getting qualified. And then once everything is working, that's when you would undo this one and allow it to go to the actual sales team. Again, you just want to make sure that you're giving them relevant information and they don't start disregarding it before you've even finalized the process. One of the areas that you can see your results as people are getting scored is right here within the scoring group actions. It says show results. And I can click on that and it would go through and show me all the results of everybody who has been scored in this particular group. Again, that's just a way to go ahead and start analyzing how people are getting scored. Okay, one of the things that I'd like to talk about now is I'd like to talk about how many points to assign and what does it actually mean. So I was randomly picking numbers here, giving 1 point for generic campaign opens, 2 points for clicks, 10 points for pricing, and so forth. And I was just making those up on my own. Understanding the point system is it really doesn't matter what points you choose. You can choose 100 points, you can choose 10 points, you can choose 20, 8, 1, you can do odd, even numbers, doesn't matter. Where it matters is when you start setting up your routing rules and saying, this is what's going to happen at this level, and this is what's going to happen at this level, and this is what's going to happen at this level. Now, if we take into consideration this example here, where it says I'm scoring any page 1 point, the pricing page will get 5, careers page gets -15. Email campaigns, generically I'm going to score 1 for opens, 2 for clicks, and maybe 5 for dialogue completions. Those are just random numbers I made up. But if I want to have 3 tiers, cold, warm, and hot, I need to take into consideration these scores. So if I'm saying for cold, from 1 to 50 is cold, 51 to 100 is warm, and 101 to infinity, 999 represents infinity, is hot. How hard is it going to be for somebody to move between these tiers? If I'm only assigning 1 page and the highest points I'm assigning is 5 pages, it's going to be a little bit hard for somebody to get all the way up to 51 to move into the next tier. And then even harder to get to 101 to get to the hot tier. If I come down here and look at example 2, you can see that I have 1 to 15 is cold. And it would be easier for them to get to 16 to 30 and then from 31 to infinity. You have to think about the combinations of how can somebody get to 15 points. Well, they could touch 15 pages. They could touch 10 pages plus my pricing page. Or they could open a few campaigns, click a few campaigns, and have a little bit of web activity. Again, nothing that you set up is set in stone. You can always customize this. If you see too many people are getting into this tier, then you can always raise these levels at any point, or if you set it too high, you can always reduce them. As another example, I'd like to show you an example of the more advanced ways that you can use the scoring profiles. So this is creating a generic lead qualifying profile, and then the other 3 are what I call sub-profiles. Again, this is a little bit more advanced, but I just want to show you the power of the scoring profiles and what it could do. Again, here's our example where we're saying on any page, give 1 point, generically for email campaigns, give X number of points, and generically for dialogues, give X number of points. Then our actions are to drop them into a nurture, add them as a lead, add a task, and add an op. And again, this is what I call my lead qualifying one. So 3 over to the right are where we're getting a little bit more defined. We're saying product interest A, product B interest, product C interest. These sub-profiles can be created to deliver a targeted message to a targeted group of people, which will help increase your open and click-through rates because you're giving something relevant to what they are doing. It also tells your sales team, hey, guess what? Not only am I giving you a qualified lead, but now I'm also telling you what product they're interested in. If somebody has a 5 score for A, a 10 for B, and a 35 for C, guess which product they're interested in. Over here, you can see for web activity, I'm getting specific. I'm saying only for product A pages, give 5 points. Only for product A emails, assign these points. And only if they express an interest in product A for dialogues, give them these points. Then you can say, again, drop into a product-specific nurture, maybe even add to a product-specific distribution list, and maybe even change the owner to somebody who is in lead of that product line. Again, same thing for B, scoring only on B web activity, only on B emails, only on interest in B for dialogues. And again, have them dropped into a product B specific actions. Again, this is probably not what you're going to create first off. You'll probably start off creating the overall lead scoring profile, but this gives you an idea of how you can constantly evolve using the scoring profiles. The last thing that I want to show you is how to subscribe to those web activity alerts. If you come over here to the Administration tab and you go to your users, next to each user we have Manage Subscriptions, and you will have to do this for each user that you want to receive these. If you want them to receive entry and exit alerts, these are the alerts for contact scoring. Entry will send out an alert saying, guess what, jamie.whited@salesfusion.com has begun web activity. The exit alerts will say, jamie.whited@salesfusion.com has completed web activity. Here's what she looked at. And again, you can choose to do one or both of those, doesn't matter. The account alerts will tell the person, tell the system that this person is allowed to receive the account alerts. And then all you have to do is hit Save Changes. So if you need to, if you already have your scoring profile set up, you can come in and change and customize these around. And of course, you can modify them as time goes along. Give you a little bit of additional information on our Learning Management Center here. If you've never been there before, you can get there by going to Toolbox, Learning Management. You will need to register, create your own username and password, and we have a plethora of information. We have our recorded videos. On our recorded videos, if I scroll down to the bottom, you will see Lead Analyzer, and I have broken up the contact scoring profiles, the account scoring profiles, how to customize the scoring templates, and then I also have a prep questions document. This is the 2-page document I was referring to that will help you in your thought process on getting lead scoring set up. Each of these videos breaks down into even more granular detail, step-by-step process of how to create a contact scoring profile, how to create an account scoring profile, and so forth. We also have our online manual, which is under our toolbox, under Help. This is a great resource for a quick reference. If you need to come in here and figure out how to set up alerts, how to manage them, how to customize them, or how to set up a scoring profile, all you have to do is type in a keyword. As always, I thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a fantastic day.